Och med det är det då dags för dagens första talare. And with that I will switch over to English and welcome Katharina Schüller, who will talk today about statistical literacy from a European perspective. Katharina is a data scientist and the CEO of StatUp, a German statistical company. She was named Thought Leader in 2019 by Handelsblatt and BCG. She was named the top voice by LinkedIn in 2020 and was also named a Corona explainer by Focus Online during this time period. She has also won the Digital Female Leader Award in 2021. She is a board member and of the German Statistical Society and leads Fenstat's group on data literacy. So with that, I would like to welcome Katharina Schüller.
Audio. Thank you, Matthias, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here today, and hopefully I manage to share my presentation now.
Should be able to.
Let's test. Look good.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, today I would like to talk about statistical literacy from a European perspective. And I want to start with a new term which could be seen as kind of a buzzword. It's AI literacy, which is everyone is talking about now in the beginning because of the EU AI Act Article 4. And this article says that providers and deployers of AI systems shall take measures to ensure to the best extent a sufficient level of AI literacy, whatever this means, of their staff and other persons dealing with the operation and use of AI systems on their behalf, taking into account their technical knowledge, experience, education, and training, and the context the AI systems are to be used in considering the persons or groups of persons on whom the AI systems are to be used. So, to be honest, this will apply to almost every organization in the future because AI will be everywhere if we want or not. It's on our mobile phones, it's in our office programs, and so on and so on. So why did I say whatever this means? It is because there is no generally accepted definition of AI literacy so far. I am involved in working on such a definition with the IEEE Standards Association. So we are developing a standard for data and AI literacy skills and readiness, which includes another buzzword, data literacy, but there we have better definitions. So I want to start with AI literacy and why AI literacy is not possible without data or better statistical literacy. And then in the second part of my presentation, I will give you some examples of statistical literacy initiatives that I found in Europe, in different European countries. So as said, the EU AI requires AI literacy development, but we do not really have defined what does AI literacy actually include, even though we need appropriate training depending on role, context, and expertise. Why do we need such a specific training for role, context, and expertise? I mean, you all might remember the discussion around GDPR and the question, how could this be trained? And most of us might have seen, or most of you might have seen the typical training. So it's kind of web-based training, 20, 30 minutes, you click through, then you have a multiple choice test, and then you are certified as you had a training on GDPR. How many people are able to apply it? Well, perhaps not so many. But what is the fundamental difference when it comes to AI? Because some people say, well, AI, it's just another technology, and we have experienced a similar situation in the past. I think there is one fundamental difference between AI and other technologies, because AI is not developed once, then rolled out and used. It's continuously developed. So the user of an AI application contributes to the development of that AI through the feedback that they give. If you want or not, but the AI tool will further develop with the data that you feed in. And it can be a serious problem because it can introduce bias or discrimination if AI is not properly used. And that's why everyone needs AI literacy depending on their role and their context, how they use AI. And this means data and statistical literacy are needed to have AI literacy. So one of my examples here is I work with the German customs, and they discuss using AI to improve their systems of risk analysis and the checks that they do. So if they choose to check a person and use an AI for that, then they do a pre-selection of someone and they will feed data into the system. That's the result of this checking process of a person. But if they select only specific groups of people, may this be conscious or unconscious, then the data they produce and that they feed back into the system is biased. That's one thing. So they do create biased data and a biased development of the AI. Second, if AI will give them control or check recommendation of someone, there can always be something like false positives or false negatives. So just because an AI says, okay, this person has a higher risk of being a criminal or something, this does not mean that the person really is a criminal. So we need to understand false positives, which is clearly a topic in statistical literacy. So data and statistical literacy can stand alone without AI, but it does not work the other way around. So let me give you a few examples. First, bias in AI outputs. This is something I tried with DeepL. Improve your writing with DeepL. I typed in, sehr geehrte Frau Dr. Schüller, so Mrs. Dr. Schüller, and it gives me, sehr geehrter Herr Dr. Schüller, so Mr. Dr. Schüller. So because the AI believes that a doctor or PhD is more likely, a person with a PhD is more likely to be a man than a woman, because it's trained on data where the share of people, the share of men amongst those with a PhD is higher than the share of women. And that's what the AI learns. So if I say, please improve my writing, it thinks that if I write Frau, Mrs. Dr. Schüller, that must be wrong. It should be Mr. Dr. Schüller. So what we need here is to understand which is the databases that was used to train the model, because here it's obvious. In other cases, it might not be obvious, but it leads to biases, and assessing bias in data is an essential aspect of statistical literacy. Second example, the international comparison of working hours in Germany and Sweden. So we asked ChatGPT, how do German and Sweden compare internationally in terms of annual working hours? So they both have relatively low annual working hours compared to many other countries, but Germany consistently has some of the shortest working hours in the world. By the way, this is something that's often discussed at the moment by politicians in Germany. They say, oh, the Germans don't work enough, and that's why we are in trouble, why our economy is in trouble. Germans, the lazy Germans, should work more. So where does this data come from? ChatGPT tells us German workers average about 1,340 to 1,380 hours per year, according to OECD data. Well, this cited source is obviously a trustworthy source. If we look at Sweden, Swedish workers average around 1,440 to 1,500 hours per year. So congratulations, you're doing better. Okay, there are other international comparisons: United States, UK, France, Japan, South Korea, Mexico. They are the top country on the list. They have over 2,100 hours per year. So what are the key takeaways? Germany has among the lowest annual working hours worldwide, and Sweden works slightly more hours than Germany, but still Sweden is below the OECD average. Let's look at the data. This was one of our Unstatistik des Monats. It's an initiative that we have once a month, and we look at misinterpreted statistics in the media. This was a nice chart, a nice graph visualizing the annual working hours, the data from the OECD. And it's obvious, ChatGPT provides correct OECD figures, but it does not provide meta information on the data. And the data includes both full-time and part-time employees, so they're just counted equally. If we have a closer look at Germany, we see that Germany has a high part-time and female employment rate, which explains a large part of the difference to other nations. And what does it mean? Just imagine an example. You have two people in a relationship. The first person works 38 hours and person 2 works 0 hours. So their annual average is 38 hours per week, which translates with holidays and so on to approximately 1,750 hours per year, which is the OECD average. Then person 1 decides to work more, 40 hours per week. Person 2 takes a job and they start to work 20 hours a week. So this will provide 30 hours per week, an average, or an annual average, 1,350 hours. So what we get here is both people work more, but the average is lower. So now you can do this as a homework and look at the situation in Sweden, how it looks like, and maybe do a simple calculation if they find the data. How would the Swedish average look like if everyone who does part-time work would stop working tomorrow? Then you would see probably that the average working hours per year or per week will go up. Why do I need statistical literacy here? Well, the first and more basic question is you simply need literacy in the sense of ability to read and write, because the OECD themselves point out this problem, so they point out this problem transparently. So they say you cannot use the data for cross-country comparisons, but ChatGPT simply ignores it. And the statistical literacy part here is understand what the impact is of not distinguishing between full and part-time employees. A third example is the gambling addicts in Germany. Sorry, there's something happening on my computer at the moment. The gambling addicts in Germany. The question here, how many gambling addicts are there in Germany? ChatGPT cites a 2023 report by Germany's Federal Drug Commissioner, and the report says there are approximately 1.3 million adults in Germany suffering from a gambling disorder and an additional 3.3 million showing initial signs of gambling addiction. That sounds quite much. So the sources cited here are China Daily, Sigma Play, and YogoNet. Why does ChatGPT cite China Daily when the question is about the situation in Germany? So obviously it fails to take the main source, perhaps because the main source is in German. And the information is based on a report by the Germany's Federal Drug Commissioner. This seems serious, but if you look at the long chain of information, you will see that YogoNet cites this report from Germany's Federal Drug Commissioner. This report takes information from the so-called Glücksspiel Atlas. The Glücksspiel Atlas cites the Glücksspiel Survey 2021, and we evaluated this report, this survey. I did it together with Ralf Münnig. Maybe some of you know him. He is a professor for survey statistics at the University of Trier and also in the German Statistical Society. We found a lot of statistical and methodological mistakes, for example, a very biased sample. So we found the reported numbers were not reliable at all. And everything of this gets lost in this answer given by ChatGPT. So the conclusion here is AI literacy doesn't work without statistical literacy, because statistical literacy means you're able to critically reflect on data, the source of data, how well data represent the reality, or whether they could be biased due to problems with the sample or general survey statistics problems. It also requires that you're able to understand key figures, indicators, understand how they are constructed, what they mean and what they do not mean. So the correct interpretation of statistical results. Those are crucial for AI literacy, and they clearly can be seen as statistical literacy. How can we build AI and statistical literacy? I will give you a few examples. First one is a project I work on, also together with the ISI. We name it IRIS. IRIS stands for AI Risk and Impact Evaluation System. As an AI-supported training system with the goal to help organizations and employees use AI application responsible and competently. And the focus is to provide compliance with the EU AI Act through personalized and adaptive micro-training sessions that could be designed both for AI developers and AI users. So I will show you some insights in the version for AI developers, because that was our starting point. We also have this as a live demo, so if you want to play with it, just let me know and I can give you access. So this is the website. What you can do here as an AI developer or data project developer, you can upload the project details of the project you're working on. So we have here some use cases that were developed in cooperation with ISI. And you can just upload them and see the project brief preview and then see how it's described. You see here the target audience, a problem statement, and maybe some examples. So this is exactly the example I showed you earlier. What you then get is a pre-structured canvas, which allows you to explore the context. This is pre-filled in the background with the help of AI based on specific prompts that have been written by a team of experts. And this project brief or project canvas will now give you a structured description of the problem or of the project. Here's the scenario description. It derives the purpose of data use, detailed objective of data use, and then the target groups, the primary target groups, and also other stakeholders, their needs and the challenges. What you cannot see here on the slide, but what you can try out in the demo version, is that everything can be adjusted, changed, extended by the user. So you just click into one of the fields and extend, write, change it. So if you think it's not appropriate, the user can change it. So here, for example. And then you can do this stakeholder alignment and see the stakeholders external, external, what is the factual environment and what is the social environment. Next step, we need the values, ethical principles as they are promoted by the ISI and hopefully in the future also by FENSTAT. So we plan to develop a European version of the ISI ethical principles and values. So here they can be uploaded, the ISI values declaration for professional ethics. And then here it's demonstrated. Also, you can see here the declaration in its original words and format. And you can choose from other guidelines that are already stored in the system. Here we have the ISO IEC 42001/2023 on AI management systems, the EU AI Act is VDE spec, and the CDR Codex. In the next step, the system clusters or categorizes the values described in the different ethical standards. So they are color-coded to show similarities between the different standards. Like here we have respect for privacy, professionalism, responsibility, truthfulness, integrity, transparency, contribution to common good, and avoidance of harm. What the user then can do is choose all of the values or just a selection of them where they think they are the most important. And then switch to the next part, which is value-based design. And now for each one of the selected values, the system will give the user a detailed table that describes whether the value is supported or harmed, potentially supported or harmed by the planned project, why exactly it is supported or harmed. Here's the enabler or disabler of the value. And then the system gives back an ethical requirement, which could be seen as a measure to be implemented in order to support or avoid harm. So this can then be added to a Git system if you're a developer and have this as a task in your Git system when you develop the AI system or the data project, to make sure that ethical requirements are considered. So finally, there can be a PDF exported or VCS, which is our internal archive that we want to use. So this is just a summary. It's also described in the ISI newsletter, the December newsletter. So if you want to have more details on this, you can also look at this. The plan is to provide this for free together with ISI for statisticians who want to use it as a training tool. So just in summary, it exemplifies how AI-supported training systems can enhance both data and statistical literacy, and this will integrate machine-readable standards, adaptive learning paths, and flexible content delivery. And help users not only be compliant with the EU AI Act, but also being equipped with statistical and analytical skills for responsible and effective AI usage. Second example, I want to go now to European projects on enhancing statistical literacy, and I think they are really important because they are promoting and improving statistical literacy to equip individuals with technical skills, and they foster appreciation for statistics in decision making. And I would like to show you a few examples because I think they are worth being more promoted. Sometimes they're only known to a very small community, and that's something we hopefully can change in the future. So there is a statistical literacy group by Fanstats. It's not as active as it could be, but I invite you, so if you want to contribute to the statistical literacy group, please get back to me. The goal is here addressing the gap in statistical understanding among citizens to ensure informed decision-making, which is in the end the goal of data literacy, statistical literacy, and also AI literacy. One example here comes from Spain. It's called StatWars, with a very nice website, stems from the Universidad Carlos III de Madrid in Spain, and is inspired by Star Wars with interactive activities, competitions, and themed sessions. So if you like Star Wars, you hopefully will also like StatWars. The goal here is to make statistics engaging, accessible, and teaching, especially the critical evaluation of data, as I showed in the examples in the beginning. This also includes digital formats and a few international adaptations, such as in Mexico. Second example is Numbed by Numbers from the USI, Università della Svizzera Italiana, so in Switzerland, in Italian-speaking Switzerland, and this is an interactive exhibition with real-world examples coming from sports, but also from medicine and social science. The goal of this project is to make statistics tangible and relatable with everyday examples, which hopefully engages students through hands-on activities. So it was showcased in Italy and Switzerland and at various science festivals. Why are those initiatives so important? They have an impact because they can combine education with engagement to make statistical concepts approachable and relevant. So it's not just going through a textbook or going through a web-based training. They are interactive and they have a clear relationship or demonstrate a clear relationship of statistics to everyday life problems. And their role is equipping future generations with tools to critically analyze information, make informed decisions, not only statisticians, but the general public. And this is so important in our fight against misinformation because this requires critical thinking and critical reflection on data and statistics. Data and statistics, they always they're objective. Someone has measured something, so it must be correct. On the other hand, so many people have a feeling, okay, I don't trust statistics and there are lies, bad lies and statistics. So how can we evaluate whether a number or statistics is trustworthy? That requires statistical literacy, and therefore those initiatives are so important. Well, the challenges that we have, on the one hand, it's the accessibility. Many people in the general public, so they are, statistics. I was never good at statistics in school, and it's something very boring. What does it have to do with my daily life? So we need to communicate in a way so that everyone understands statistical literacy is such an important competence in the future in the digital 21st century. And second, a challenge, but also an opportunity is the expansion. So if we could have a European project on statistically, which aims to jointly develop educational resources based on what's already there and also training materials, I believe the impact could be much higher. And that's an important project where I think we all can contribute and discuss and find ways how we can promote statistical literacy and therefore also, and then also AI literacy in the European Union and maybe even beyond. So let's look ahead. What's the future of statistical literacy? I think the priority must be to ensure statistical literacy in educational curricula across Europe. So it should be taught at schools and universities, and not only for the privileged, but especially for people who do not have access to good learning resources, who are in their daily jobs and they deal with data and AI in their daily lives, sometimes unconsciously. But especially they need to be reached because otherwise AI might create some serious biased decisions. The demand here is there's a growing need for data-driven decision-making in various sectors, and statistical literacy, as I believe, is a fundamental skill for understanding, interpreting, and using data effectively. So I've shown you some initiatives like IRIAS, StatWars, and Numbers by Numbers. I think they are leading the way in this effort. Thanks a lot. And I'm happy to answer your questions, but have hopefully a discussion with you now and also, of course, offline later. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Katharina, for guiding us through all the various initiatives across Europe and also a bit more of why it's important. We now open up the floor to questions. So if there is any question either from the auditorium in here or from our digital audience, please feel free to shout them out. I will start off with one question that popped into my head. A couple of years ago, during COVID, you spearheaded the FENSTAT's initiative to develop a course in data literacy. Is that still active, and how many people have actually taken that course? Do you have any numbers on that?
So the course is no longer active on the AI campus. It's archived there. So it still can be used. So if you ask, it can be used because we created that course under the Creative Commons license. And if anyone wants to use it or adapt it, they can just use it and adapt it as they want. But this requires actively asking the AI campus whether you can get it. There were a few hundred people who took the course. I had hoped for more participants, to be honest. Well, that's maybe the general problem that we as statisticians should be better at promoting such resources. Yeah, that's what I can say, but I think we should, in general, it was a good example of showing how collaboration can work between statisticians from many different European countries, because it was a joint project with developers from Italy, Spain, someone from Sweden was also involved.
Yeah.
So Finland, Germany, of course, and I think at least this was a success, showing what we can achieve when we cooperate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I tried to find it and I couldn't on the AI campus, but that explains it. So
yeah, maybe we can host it
get in contact with them and get access to it again. All right, excellent. So I know you have been very, very active in the last couple of years regarding data literacy, statistical literacy, and now AI literacy. What would you recommend us as the Swedish Statistical Society to do to enhance this development in Sweden and in Europe?
So my impression is that's, at least in Germany, I don't know if it's the same in Sweden, that there is statistics is not seen as something sexy, as something very attractive. But people go crazy about data and AI. And it's sometimes difficult because maybe we as the statisticians are not used to advocate for ourselves and our important role in building AI literacy, contributing to AI. I mean that AI is based in its fundamentals on statistics, something that many people do not know. So when I say I have a consultancy doing data science, statistics, and AI, or have been doing it for 20 years, people say, yeah, but AI is something recent. It only came up 2 years ago. And then I say, no, it happened in the 1950s. It started in the 1950s based on statistical algorithms and methods. And people look at me and say, what? Didn't know that. And that's something we do not advocate enough for ourselves. And I get the impression sometimes that statisticians in Germany say, oh no, I don't want to be involved in discussions with the computer scientists or those AI experts who do not understand what we do. And I think what we do need to do here is just get more out of our ivory tower, be more present, also within the industry, as I experienced from the Swedish Statistical Society. So I have the impression that there is more collaboration also with the industry. For example, if you look at Magnus, he also runs a consultancy and he's very active. I discussed this in the German Statistical Society, if we should also focus more on statisticians working in the industry, and they were not so interested in that. I don't know the reason exactly, but I think if we do not go out, if we do not promote our value, and if we do not talk the language that's now the hype language. So if we avoid talking about AI, if we avoid talking about data science, I think the importance of statistics will not be recognized in the future and will perhaps be recognized even less than it is now, with all the problems that we face, like politicians arguing on the basis of very biased data, of questionable surveys that they found somewhere, because simply no one understands why it's so important to have an unbiased sample or high quality data, or for example, the discussion about fit for purpose. What does fit for purpose mean? You cannot use any study that might have been valuable in a specific context to use it as a basis for political or policy initiative, political decision making. So this is something that I think we should be more active going out to the general public and stress or point out that statistics is the fundamentals of AI.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Katharina. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. So Joshua asked if, because the data literacy and statistical literacy is sort of a smaller part of the broader critique of sources, like being mindful of what sources you get your information from. And that is something that's being increasingly taught in schools. So are there any initiatives directed at schools and educators trying to teach them how to teach being critical of sources?
Yes, so there is a EU initiative. I've seen a course by the European, so it's a European course, I have to look at it, but it's on the IAS, on the ISLP website. So if you go to the ISLP website, which is the International Statistical Literacy Project, you will find several courses. One of them is also addressed to teachers. Then in Germany, we developed this interactive app, Stadtland Datenfluss. It's in German, unfortunately, but it's Creative Commons license, so it can be translated. And it's an app that you can play on your mobile. You can also use it for teaching. So it guides you through a virtual city. and addresses several areas of daily life like health, work, and also mobility. And it has a new section which is sustainability. And those are topics that you can find at different places in the city. And then you have small stories, quizzes, reflections, and so on different topics of data and statistical literacy. And there's also additional materials from the Volkshochschulen. So it's for the adult education centers, something like this. I don't know the exact word in English or if there's something similar in Sweden. But this is also really accessible.
Okay.
And there
That
recently I found a new initiative. So it's a card game to train data literacy that you play together with friends. At the moment, it's only available in German, but they want to translate it and also provide an English version.
okay, awesome. So was that the ISLP,
Mhm.
National Statistical Literacy Project? Excellent.
Yes.
And the app you mentioned, where was that available? At the
It's on the AI campus.
AI campus. Excellent.
Yeah, but it also has they have their own website, Stadtland Datenfluss.
Okay, excellent. So either the National Statistical Literacy Project or the AI Campus are two sources. And then maybe we'll get back to that card game eventually once it's translated. Okay, thank you. All right. With that, I thank you very much, Katharina, for coming and talking to us about AI and statistical literacy. Definitely a very important topic. But we thank you very much, Katharina, and look forward to hearing more from you and your excellent initiatives. Thank you so much.